Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Nancy Jones. I'm here, one of the program staff at the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities, and I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. Nan. We also have our Chief of our Grants Management, Priscilla Grant, on board, and if he's not here already, we have the Director of Community Health and Population Sciences Division, Dr. Nathan Stenson, who will also be helping. This is being recorded, and so again, we ask that everyone mute themselves until we get to the Q&A portion, and we'll take questions at the end rather than as we go along, just to make the recording easier. Again, welcome to the Technical Assistance webinar for RFA-MD-22-010 or 010, the John Lewis NIMHD Research Endowment Program. It's an S21 mechanism. We're real excited about this program and the contribution that it makes to the scientific field. This again is a Zoom video webinar. So we ask you to ask questions using the chat feature. We'll answer the questions at the end of the webinar. And again, this will be recorded. And actually the link will be posted on the website rather than emailed to you. So this will go over 3 parts, and I'll be doing the first part that really gives you the background about the request for applications, both its background and objectives, and some requirements for the application. So in last year or this year, the John Lewis NIMHD Research Endowment Revitalization Act of 2021 was signed by President Biden, which expanded the eligibility for the NIMHD Research Endowment Program. Just a little bit of the legislative background for the endowment program. Back in the Minority Health and Health Disparities Research Education Act of 2000 authorized the then Center on Minority Health and Health Disparities to establish a research endowment program to facilitate minority health and health disparities research through the creation of endowment funds in institutions with the Center of Excellence funded by the Health Services and Resources Administration, the HRSA. Then in March of 2010, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act expanded. First, it redesignated the Center for Minority Health and Health Disparities to the National Institute for Minority Health and Health Disparities. And it expanded the eligibility of the Research Endowment Program to include not only the Institute's Centers of Excellence of HRSA, but also institutes that had Center of Excellence funded by NIMHD. And then in March of 2022, this year, the John Lewis NIMHD Research Endowment Revitalization Act of 2012 further expanded the eligibility of the program to institutions of higher education with either a current or former HRSA Center of Excellence award, or current or a former NIMHD Centers of Excellence award. So this particular request for applications, the applications are due January 17th of 2023. They'll be reviewed in March of 2023. They'll go through secondary review at the Advisory Council in May 2023, and the earliest start date will be in July of 2023. NIMHD intends to commit $12 million in fiscal year 2023 to fund 6 awards. Application institutions may request up to $2 million in direct costs annually, and indirect costs are not allowed. Only one application is allowed per institution. So the objectives for the John Lewis NIMHD Research Endowment Program is to strengthen the research infrastructure and training capacity at eligible institutions of higher education, to facilitate minority health and health disparities research, and enhance the diversity of the scientific workforce. The strategic objectives for this program include improving institutional physical infrastructure and research equipment acquisition, developing research enabling technical expertise, the expansion of academic programs, and also recruitment of individuals from groups underrepresented in the scientific workforce as potential candidates for open faculty positions. Specific areas of interest, but are not limited to this list, include things like enhancing facilities through minor renovations or acquisition of instruments or equipment. It could be developing resources such as faculty level expertise in research methodology, study design, or specialty laboratory techniques, data sciences, research ethics, among others. Or you could choose to enhance the academic environment through creating challenging courses or programs in such topics as research methodology, grant writing, health disparity science, as additions to curriculum. Another area of interest might be to structure engagement of scientists with communities that would foster participation in minority health or health disparities research, or implement institutional efforts to support individuals from diverse backgrounds, to including those that are underrepresented in the scientific workforce. Could also include recruitment and career development activities for established scientific faculty with exceptional expertise in clinical, behavioral, social, and population sciences, or facilitate the recruitment of new scientists within these disciplines. There are two eligibility criteria for this program. First, institutions of higher education must have either a current or a former HRSA Center of Excellence, or a current or a former NIMHD Center of Excellence. The second requirement is that eligible institutes must have an endowment that is equal to or less than 50% of the national median of endowment funds at institutions that conduct similar biomedical research and training of health professionals. We used a national standard for estimating what the median was, and then estimated that half was $301,505,000. So to be eligible, the institutions or system-wide endowments cannot exceed that amount. We also have non-responsiveness criteria. And so an application would be judged not responsive and not reviewed for the FOA if it came from an institute without a current or former NIMHD or HRSA Center of Excellence award, if it came from an institution with an endowment above the statutory limits, or if it did not include a 5-year NIMHD research endowment strategic plan. We are requesting letters of intent, and these are due December 17th for 2021. And the things to include in this letter of intent includes a title of the proposed activity, the name and addresses of the PIs, the names of other key personnel, the participating institute, and the number and title of this funding opportunity. And this will help us prepare for a robust review. So the research strategy, applicants must describe a 5-year NIMHD endowment strategic plan. That this would establish for the program the priorities for the use and growth of the endowment fund income that's generated. It's important to note that any endowment income realized in the initial year following the grant award should not be expended to support programmatic activities until after the conclusion of the initial year of the grant. Other required elements for the plan include a mission statement for the plan, an overview of the institution's strategy for building research infrastructure and capacity to facilitate minority health and health disparities research, and enhance the diversity of the scientific workforce. And then you would specify the areas of emphasis in your priority order. The rationale would explain the need, the scientific opportunity, and the institution's reason for pursuing the areas of emphasis. And then there should be clearly identified objectives related to the areas of emphasis, with an indication of the relative priority again, and include an estimate of the total dollars needed to achieve each objective for each of the 5 years of the plan. So the action plan would consist of a description of concrete activities that will enhance and expand the institutional research capacity in minority health or health disparities, and enhance the diversity of the scientific workforce at your institution, and what it would take to achieve each objective. It should also specify a timeline for achieving the target objectives and an estimated date by which the objective is expected to be accomplished. A description of performance measures will also should be included that will be utilized to demonstrate the accomplishment of each objective, and a projected impact of the endowment income, including an explanation of the institution's commitment to the programmatic aspects of the proposed endowment fund program. For renewal applications, you must also include a progress report, and it has 2 different elements. First, you would describe details on the ability to manage the endowment corpus and generate income yearly. And second, there should be a description of the outcomes of the program and the activities supported by the generated endowment income. In addition to this, there are 2 additional attachments that are needed. The first is an institutional corporate endowment asset. And here, the institution is asked to provide a certified or notarized letter or report from an independent audit with the original signatures, and must state the dollar amount of the applicant's institutional corporate endowment assets. Again, the document must include a statement reflecting the dollar amount of all endowment funds of the corporate institution that are managed by the applicant institution, private nonprofit foundations, and or public entities established by and for the benefit of the institute that's applying. The other attachment is the institution's investment policy statement. And here, the investment plan needs to show for the proposed endowment corpus, long and short-term investment goals and expected rate of return. And the plan should be balanced and take into consideration the volatility of the markets. Again, care should be taken to develop an investment and spending plan that ensures the market value of the corpus is not invaded and addresses strategic steps. What would happen under challenging investment environment. And It's also noted that institutions with limited experience in establishing and managing these endowment funds are encouraged to consult with other institutions that have experience establishing and managing such funds. It's also permissible to pool the NIMHD Endowment Award with other endowment assets held by the institution. But in that case that you do that, you need to separate out or show proportionate income that's generated by the NIMHD endowment corpus, and how you account for it separately for the uses defined within this FOA. Again, the award budget, reiterating, NIMHD intends to commit $12 million to this program in fiscal year 2023 and to fund 6 awards. The award budget is $2 million in direct costs annually. Indirect costs may not be requested. The institutions can propose a maximum project period of 5 years. And the scope of the proposed project should determine the project period. Of note, applicants may receive a warning when they put it in if they propose a longer project period, like 4 or 5 years, but you can ignore this warning and submit the application. And just to note, we do have resources on the NIMHD website. There's a specific web page on the John Lewis NIMHD Research Endowment Program. The hyperlink is shown there. On this, it describes again the background of the program as well as the priorities. And it has a list of HRSA and NIMHD centers of excellence that can be referred to. But certainly, if your institute knows you had one, you can reach out to us and we can confirm if you happen not to be on that list. There will also be a link or a page on the technical assistant webinar so that you can refer to it as you prepare your application. At this point, I want to pass over the presentation to my colleague, Dr. Nan, who's the scientific review officer for this initiative.
Thank you, Nancy. Now, I would like to switch gear to peer review section. Next slide, please. Yeah, this slide summarizes that program peer review. Your application will be received by CSR and assigned grant numbers and assist for completeness by Center for Scientific Review at NIH. Our program official will assist the applications for responsiveness based on eligibility criteria in the RFA, as mentioned by Nancy. We, SRO, will assemble a panel of experts from extramural community to peer review the applications. Next slide, please. Preparation for peer review are based on RFA specific characteristic and review criteria, including overall program objective, mechanism, characteristic, specific to this RFA, and review criteria stated in this RFA in section 5. We also do administrative review of applications to determine whether the applications are complete as required by this RFA and have appropriate sections to be able to be reviewed. We also determine which key personnel are involved in each application and their institution affiliation to for determination of conflict of interest. We also look for specific aims stated in each application and expertise needed. Next slide, please. How we select reviewers. We select reviewers solely based on scientific expertise as defined in this RFA, and also connective content of applications. We also pay attention to conflict of interest. We want to make sure the panel member from the first group, according gender, demographic, and geography. Next slide, please. Here shows three phases of peer review. Pre-meeting, reviewers submit their written critiques. During meeting, reviewers discuss applications and vote for overall impact scores. After meeting, SRO write the resume and finalize summary statements. Next slide, please. The review will use peer review criteria described only in this RFA only, and will be considered only the review criteria described in this RFA will be considered in review process. Applications submitted to NIH in support of NIH mission are evaluated for scientific and technical merit through the NIH peer review system. Overall impact reflects the likelihood for a project to exert a substantial, powerful influence on research fields. The 5 scored review criteria, including significance, investigators, innovation, approach, and environment. Next, please. We also want to draw attention the specific query to this RFA. As Lance mentioned, this is based on mechanism characteristic, namely the 5-year NIMHD research endowment strategic plan, and the significance and approach. So, and significance, to what extent were the 5-year NIMHD research endowment strategic plan enhance and expand institutional resource to facilitate capacity in minority health or health disparity research, and or enhance diversity of scientific workforce. And the approach were the activities identified in the 5-year NIMHD research endowment strategic plan enhance and expand the institutional research capacity in minority health and or health disparity research. For instance, research training opportunities, improvement in physical plant, equipment acquisition, enhancement of academic curriculum, and or recruitment and retention of accomplished scientists. In the fields of biomedical, behavior, and social science research, is the proposed management of endowment fund and effectiveness of investment strategy appropriate to achieve a proper growth potential while taking into consideration the potential for volatility of the markets. Next slide, please. So additional review criteria which contribute to overall impact score, including protection for human subject, inclusion of women, minority, and individual across the lifespan, vertebrate animals, biohazards. Next slide, please. Additional review considerations, which does not contribute to overall impact score, but will be discussed during review meeting, including select agent research, resource share plans, authentication of key biological and/or chemical resource, and budget and period of support. Next slide, please. I want to draw attention, some application may be streamlined. That means will not be discussed if more than 10 applications received based on a NIMHD review rule. So application may undergo a selection process in which only those applications deemed to have the highest scientific and technical merit, generally the top half of application and review, will be discussed and then assign an overall impact score. Final impact score are based on average of all 40 reviewers times 10. So the score range will be from 10 exceptional to 90 poor. A summary statement for all application would be available approximately 30 days after review meeting. I want to draw attention, please do not contact members of review panel. NIH takes a breach of review integrity very seriously. This may result in your application be withdrawn. Next slide, please. Here's a list of videos on peer review topics. So the first one from CSR, and then the resource for use ERA comes. And then you have any problem with submission, so always contact ERA service desk. Next slide, please. So let's say I will go part 3. So timeline for submission. So like Nancy mentioned, the letter of intent due date is on December 17, 2022. Letter of intent is not mandatory. However, we encourage you to contact our branch chief, Dr. Regine Liu, to submit letter of intent so that we can better manage and plan a review. Your application due date is on January 17th. Please submit your application as early as possible so that you will have time to make correction on errors during submission, after submission, before due date on January 17th. The review meeting will hold on March 2023. Council meeting will be on May 2023. Early funding start date will be July 2023. Next slide, please. So any questions on program side and the review side? Next slide, please. So again, here's contact information for program, review, and grant management. Next slide, please. Okay. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, and with that, we'll entertain questions. We have 2 other colleagues here at NIMHD that will help us with the questions. The Division Director of Community Health and Population Sciences, Dr. Nathan Stenson, and also Priscilla Grant, the Chief of our Grants Management, is here.
Okay, Nancy, I have some chat sent direct to me. I'm reading to you. So the first one is us, I don't know privacy or not, and for renewal application, as some institutes have endowment fund, and are they classified as renewal or new application?
So I'm going to let Dr. Stenson answer that question.
I didn't hear the question. What's the question again?
The question, how you decide renewal one or new application?
If you have an endowment,
Yeah.
or you've had an endowment in the past, should you come in as a new application or you should come in as a renewal?
That's your choice. I mean, if you've had an endowment award in the past, you can come in for a renewal application, a type 2, if you wish, but you can also come in as a new application. It's really just your choice on how to do that. If you come in as a type 2, as a renewal application, as Dr. Jones has indicated, as part of your research strategy, you have to include a progress report. You have to talk about what you had accomplished in the previous award that you had, but it's really your choice.
Yeah, the second question, I believe, on peer review is how will the peer review process balance innovation criteria with the demonstrate institution success address the mission of RFA with the tried and true methods? I guess later you want to answer this question too? Or yeah, we usually, before the review meeting, after as we submit a panel of members, we do review orientation. We also pay special attention. So even though there are 5 scored review criteria, but the overall impact score is not the average of all these 5 review criteria. So we encourage the reviewers to is not pay the innovation, because we see if some application is not innovation but it's contributed to the field, still very significant. So the next one is, yeah, Ned, you want to add something?
Yeah, no, I was just going to go and answer the next few questions here. One says, could you please expound on the part of not expending any income until the completion of the grant? I'm assuming that, Nancy, that was in the reference to talking about the corpus part of the.
Yeah, and I think we have 2 elements. One, you're supposed to always maintain the investment corpus, the corpus of the endowment. And in fact, the requirement is for 20 years after your grant ends. But the other part is you're allowed to spend, like during the progress of the grant, the income that's generated from the endowment for activities, but there is a requirement not to start that spending until the 2nd year. You're supposed to wait for a full year before you spend the income that's generated from the endowment.
Right, because you haven't generated the first year, you haven't generated any income yet. And that first year award is considered as part of the corpus. And as Dr. Jones basically said, the whole intent of the endowment program is really to create a income producing asset for the institution to support minority health and health disparities research. And so even at the end of the grant, we want that endowment to operate like most endowments operate, in that you use it to increase the financial resources of the institution. So that's why we have, as part of the regulations, that you are unable to spend any of the money in that corpus, in those awards that you've gotten from NIMHD for a full 20 years, after the end of your particular grant. The next question says, regarding recruitment and retention of accomplished scientists, can funds be used for salary for those scientists? The answer to that question is yes, they can. Next question talks about within the 12-page research strategy, how many pages can be allotted to the progress report for competitive reviewals. Because the progress report takes up some of that limited, number of pages that you have for the research strategy, we can't tell you, how much or how long it really should be. But what we really do suggest is that, individuals be, crisp and concise and to the point. Reviewers want to get a sense of the success of the institution in their previous awards. They don't need to, or that they're not likely to take into consideration or need, is probably a better way to look at it, a long, exhaustive list of everything that has been, accomplished on it. They just need to get a sense of, was this institution able to really, utilize this program in its intended matter. So, if you find yourself, somehow having, having that progress report more than 1 or 2 pages, then it really is going to eat into, well, what are you going to do now under this, if you were able to get this award, which is something obviously the reviewers are going to be, very, very interested in.
And I wanted just to reiterate that there were 2 things that you were supposed to document in your progress report. One, your ability to maintain the corpus, to maintain your investment. And then the second, meeting the objectives of the program, like whatever you set up as what your activity would be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as I get a review questions where the peer reviewers have in-depth knowledge about successful methods for increase diversity in the scientific workforce and achieve successful programs of health equity research. I think since we are National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparity, we usually, like in our slides mentioned, we recruit a reviewer based on expertise need as defined in the RFA. To tell you the truth, we usually our branch recruit not minority health expertise on minority health disparity, and also for women reviewers, so it's much higher than average of NIH. So usually around 70%. So just want to know.
The next question, are there any templates provided or preferred format for the required documents for the endowment asset report? And I think we don't have a template, but there are a few pieces of information that if you can make it easy to find. One, like what was the endowment corpus amount each year, how much income was generated, and how much income was spent on programmatic activities. So if you can make those things clear, we're able to judge. Again, like one of the requirements of this program is for an institution to be able to manage the endowment corpus and to then appropriately manage what's spent on the program. So making that clear helps us evaluate that aspect of the program meeting its goals. I don't know if you had anything else to add, Dr. Stinson.
No, I don't.
I want to go back. I had a direct message that somebody asked information about the best way or the best documenting about the the certified audit or the endowment. Like there was a specific question on, do you have to have a full certified audit to demonstrate, like that you're below the 301K threshold, like what's the best way to document, like this, and maybe give some parameters around that, Nate.
Well, first of all, I just want to clarify for the person who asked the question. The threshold is 300 million, not 300,000, and some change. Whatever it says in the FOA that Dr. Jones actually calculated out where that 50% below the median is. So it's in millions, not in thousands. And again, we're not asking as part of the application process that anyone who wants to be an applicant go out and get a brand new audit and pay for a current evaluation by an auditing a company. What we want is for there to be some certified declaration. Many of these institutions have an annual audit where there's a report that talks about what's part of the endowment. We want something that has some signatures on it, that's certified and that's quote current, indicating what the endowment for the institution is. But we're not asking people to go out and have a brand new audit conducted. But at the same time, providing a copy of an audit report from 5 years ago would not be acceptable. There's another question that says, if our institution was included on one but not both of the HRSA and NIMHD list of centers of excellence, do we need to contact NIMHD to add our institution to your master list in advance of submitting our application? You don't have to be a current or former center of excellence for both of the programs, NIMHD or HRSA, just one of them. So if you receive money under either one of those programs, then you would meet that particular eligibility criteria.
There was also a question, is the action plan separate from the strategic plan? No, it's part of the strategic plan. So, we're just asking for details on how you would actually put things in place. What are the steps that you're taking? So there was another question I got as a direct comment. Is having a center required? Do you have to link activities of this endowment program to the activities of the center? And the answer is no, you do not have to link, because even if you have a former center of excellence, you're still eligible. So the activities would just have to meet your institution, like where it's moving, along the lines of the minority health and health disparities and or increasing diversity of the scientific workforce. But they don't have to be linked to activities.
Yeah, Nancy, I received a program questions. Is the area of emphasis a scientific area or programmatic area of emphasis?
I might need a little more detail to know how to answer that question.
Yeah.
Exactly what's being asked.
May I ask?
Yes, please do.
Hi, thank you. So are you interested in cardiovascular disease, hypertension, cancer, genomics, or we're going to increase the technology, we're going to increase faculty? So is it specific, is it a condition specific areas of emphasis or broad? Or is it up to the applicants, I guess?
Yeah, it's very, very broad. It's really up to the, the applicant about, what their interest is and, what their, scientific expertise is around those type of, categorical conditions. When we talk about areas of emphasis, we're really talking about the broad sense of diversifying the workforce, building the capacity in different ways. Those are the things that we're interested in as far as whether or not there is a particular bend around some specific condition. That's really up to the applicant. Certainly, we hope that since this resource is something that really is institutional, in that we're trying to really build the capacity as an institution as a whole, that whatever the applicants plan are things that certainly will benefit the institution writ large, meaning that hopefully the investments will be a benefit more than just maybe like a very narrow lab, but it's really up to the institution to really decide what it feels is the right type of investment with this resource, and to tell us how that's really going to help build the infrastructure and capacity of the institution to be able to conduct minority health disparities research.
Thank you.
Then we have a question of what would we consider a winning team of personnel that is checked on by the administrative review team? I think, like what reviewers are looking for is, are the personnel that you put forward, do they have the expertise, the capability to do the program that's proposed by the application, like to manage the administration or manage the like the capacity that's being built. We do have a requirement. Nate, help me remember the actual PI. Don't we have a requirement? Let me look it up in the RFA for who can serve as a PI.
I believe it's a senior leadership.
I'll get the exact wording. Go ahead and ask the next question, someone.
Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say that I think in the in the funding opportunity announcement, because then we consider the endowment an institution-wide resource, and not one that is necessarily focused just on one department or another, or even one school or another within a broader institution. There is a requirement in the FOA that talks about who has to be the PI of the grant, and I believe and Nancy, I mean,
I found it.
They found it, but it is on the senior leadership.
Right, and the specific wording is that the contact PDPI must be a senior administrative official, such as a president, chancellor, academic vice president, or dean of the applicant institution. But certainly there can be other personnel that are part of the team and the activities.
Right. So what often what an applicant may propose is the PI is one of those persons, but there also may be a manager of the endowment program itself. We know that presidents and chancellors and deans, we know they're all very, very busy, and so it's not that we have an expectation that there will be a lot of time, in really managing this, but we want to make sure that the engagement with NIH is really at that level in the institution, and that they're very much aware of the programmatic aspects of the endowment program within their institution, which is why we're requiring that type of level as the PI. I think, Nancy, that there's also a question about whether bios are required for the PIs and key personnel in the letter of intent, and answer that is no, the bios aren't required for the letter of intent.
The next question I see is, do application need to address all 4 of the RFA program objectives, or can they be focused on 1 or 2? And the answer is, you do not have to cover all 4 of the objectives. You can focus on 1 or 2, and again, as Nate pointed out, based on what the institution's priorities and goals are, should align with what you focus on.
Yeah, we're not telling you, okay, we don't know what you need. Only you know what you need. We don't want you to propose, activities that may be duplicative of what you're already doing, or whether in some areas you may already have sufficient, capacity or support for certain aspects. This is really to try to enhance, what you currently have, and so we give the focus areas are examples, and the applicant really should focus on what's really going to help the institution in enhancing their ability to conduct that research.
I got a direct message, the question about what are examples of return of investment that NIMHD is looking for, and certainly we think you'll get advice from the people who manage your endowment. What's a reasonable estimation of a return of investment? When we did an evaluation a few years ago, it seemed like many of the institutions managed it around 5%. But again, what you need to put together is a plan of how you manage what you think is a reasonable estimation of what's the return of investment to budget your program at, and what your institution would do for the years that you don't get that, or what you'll do if you have better years with the return of the investment. Many institutions reinvested in the corpus, but you need to specify what your plan will be. Any other detail on that, Nate, you want to add?
Yeah, no, I would just, basically say we don't have any set, threshold that, if an applicant came in and projected that, this would be the yearly return on investment, we throw it in the trash bin. We're like, no, we're not interested in that because they're projecting too low. We have no idea what the rate of return is going to be, with the investments in the, in the future. What we really want is just to see what the plan is what the plan is, to grow the endowment, and hopefully prepare for times that sometimes the market can go down as well as basically go up. Now institutions have a lot of flexibility on how it's managed, and we're kind of agnostic about how you basically do that. Some institutions do it separately. Some institutions include it in with the institution wide. Many institutions, even if they manage it separately, follow an institutional policy about investments, so that you know, the way the endowment money is invested is the same as the way they invested the larger pool. It's really up to, you know, it's really up to the institution to decide, you know, how they plan to basically manage that. But again, we're just making sure that, you know, it makes some sound, you know, financial sense, that it takes into consideration the risk involved in this, and that there's just you know, a system to really, you know, handle kind of the ups and downs, but a lot of flexibility on how institutions you know, want to structure how they manage it.
The next question we received was, can there be a multiple PI structure in this? In other words, they did say, can it be a team of senior leaders? And certainly that would be allowable.
Sure, yeah, just, you know, I mean, as long as, yeah, you can have a multiple a PI as long as the contact PI meets that initial criteria that we had. Sure.
Does anyone else have any questions? Well, again, we want to thank you for your interest in the John Lewis NIMHD Research Endowment Program. We're thrilled about you know, that the program exists, and you know, like, and then is being expanded, and we hope that many of you will apply for the program. I am not sure the webinar will be posted hopefully within a week or so, but we'll work on it to try to get it posted on the website as soon as possible. Again, certainly my name is listed, you know, like that. You feel free to contact if you have additional questions about the program. That we're here to assist you and help you put in a successful application. Any other advice or comments before we sign off? Again, NIMHD website has a specific page for the John Lewis NIMHD Research Endowment Program. And so it will have the link to where the webinar and the slides are posted. So that will be available hopefully within a week or so.
All right. I want to thank everyone for their interest in this program. We're very happy to be able to, you know, reissue this funding opportunity announcement. We believe that it's an incredible resource, you know, to institutions, and I look forward to your applications.
With that, we'll be signing off. Thanks, everyone.
All right, take care, everyone.
Thank you.